Good morning. It's Tuesday, June 27th. This is Oernoe News. Today's episode is Idaho college killing and highly classified secret papers. Let's read the news. Highly classified secret papers were discussed by Trump on audio. U.S. media have uncovered an audio clip in which Donald Trump appears to admit to keeping a secret document after leaving the White House. The former president is heard on the video leafing through some documents and stating, "This is highly confidential." Although CBS, the BBC's U.S. partner, also possesses the tape, CNN claimed to have first gotten it. Trump has entered a not guilty plea to federal accusations of improper management of private information. The 2-minute audio, which CNN claimed was taken during a July 2021 meeting between Mr. Trump and several persons working on the biography of his former chief of staff Mark Meadows, was initially made public by CNN. "These are the papers," Mr. Trump is heard saying in reference to a document regarding Iran that he describes as highly confidential. "This was done by the military and given to me," he claims. "See, I could have declassified that as president. Now I can't, but this is still a secret, you know." It seems to be the identical audio tape that federal prosecutors used to support Mr. Trump's indictment. However, it is unclear from the indictment if the records mentioned in the audio were ever found by detectives. The former president allegedly showed secret papers to 2 individuals who lacked security clearance, including a journalist and 2 staff employees. Mr. Trump is accused of illegally holding on to sensitive materials and thwarting government efforts to recover them on 37 counts. He has a history of denying wrongdoing. He claims that every document he removed from the White House was declassified, but the audio tape that has been made public appears to contradict this. The former president refuted claims that he disclosed confidential papers to those not authorized to see them at the Bedminster meeting in an interview with Fox News last week. No document was present. The number of papers and other media outlets discussing Iran and other topics was staggering, Mr. Trump said, adding that he was giving newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles. However, it appears from the tape that Mr. Trump was referring to particular files. He was charged along with an assistant named Walt Nauta, who is scheduled to enter a not guilty plea in court on Tuesday. The former president's trial is set to begin on August 14, although that date may be postponed. On a motion by the prosecution to postpone it until December 11, the court has not yet made a decision. Government prosecutors sought to keep the list of possible witnesses confidential, but the federal judge presiding over the case rejected their motion on Monday. Up next, the suspect in the Idaho college killings. According to documents examined by ABC News, Bryan Kohberger was detained in his home Pennsylvania and charged with petty larceny 9 years before he was allegedly responsible for the deaths of 4 college students in Idaho. Kohberger was accused of taking his sister's iPhone. According to the court documents, Michael Kohberger, Kohberger's father, called the police and reported the occurrence. Records show that Michael Kohberger informed law officials that Bryan had urged him not to do anything stupid after discovering that his son had taken the phone and said that his son had battled drug addiction. It is only now that Bryan Kohberger's prior legal troubles, as detailed in these papers, have come to light as he gets ready to defend himself against accusations that he killed 4 University of Idaho students last autumn. Records show that Bryan Kohberger was 19 years old when he was detained in 2014 for the alleged crime. According to authorities, he didn't spend any time behind bars. These days, neither the arrest nor the resolution of the case are publicly available. First-time offenders in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, have the option to enroll in a pretrial program called Accelerated Rehabilitative Disposition, which enables charges to be dismissed and the record to be expunged once the accused successfully completes probation. An attorney for the Kohberger family, Martin Soto Diaz, declined to comment on the previous arrest on the record. Additionally, silent was the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. Idaho prosecutors declared their intention to seek the death sentence in a court filing on Monday. Ethan Chapin, 20, Madison Mogan, 21, Xana Kernadal, 20, and Kaylee Goncalves, 21, were stabbed to death at an off-campus home on King Road in Moscow, Idaho, in the early morning hours of November 13, 2022. It is unclear whether the alleged incident in 2014 and his alleged history with substance abuse will have any bearing on the incident or provide any clues. According to a source informed on the case, Idaho prosecutors are currently looking into the alleged 2014 event as they get ready for a capital trial that may begin as early as October. A retired senior FBI agent and federal prosecutor in the Suffolk County neighborhood of New York City, Richard Frankel, an ABC News law enforcement commentator, stated, "You want to get all the puzzle pieces figured out, even as you keep finding new pieces." Frankel, speaking broadly about the investigation process for developing a case, stated, "You're working to figure out how they all fit together. For starters, it's a significant step to go from being accused of several killings to an alleged, nonviolent larceny, especially from a family member. Furthermore, 2 to 8 years is a long time for nothing to happen, according to Frankel. So, as both a prosecutor and an investigator, I would like to know what he did during those intervening years." The retired head of detectives for the New York City Police Department, Robert Boyce, who frequently contributes to ABC News, stated, "What you look for now is, was this a foundational moment, and was this a precursor for things to come?" The triple homicide trial has been scheduled on October 2, although it can be postponed. For another in a continuing series of pretrial hearings related to the murder case, Bryan Kohberger is scheduled to appear at the Latah County Courthouse on Tuesday in the afternoon. At the Latah County Jail, he is being detained without bond. The legal team for Bryan Kohberger is advocating for a hold on his case, while the prosecution and defense debate the extent of which grand jury records should or should be made public. According to court records, his attorneys are attempting to assess whether there are reasons to reject his indictment in light of how the grand jury was chosen. According to court documents, the defense is requesting additional information from Idaho prosecutors regarding their investigation, including more specifics on their forensic DNA analysis and information gleaned from telephone data. According to recent court documents, Bryan Kohberger's attorneys claim they are attempting to traverse the voluminous and still ongoing discovery process. As a result, the focus of the hearing on Tuesday is also anticipated to be on Bryan Kohberger's request for further time to determine whether to provide an alibi at trial. Insofar as any probable alibi is put out during the next month, the prosecution stated they won't object to a reasonable extension of time to make their decision. In Pennsylvania, on February 8, 2014, Bryan Kohberger recently exited a rehab center and rejoined the family, according to his father's statement to police, according to the documents examined by ABC News. Michael Kohberger told police that Bryan stole his sister Melissa's $400 iPhone on the way home from rehab, according to the records. Records provided by the authorities show that Bryan Kohberger paid a buddy $20 to pick him up and drive him to a nearby mall, where he sold the phone for $200 at a machine that buys second-hand goods, according to the authorities. The documents only state that Bryan Kohberger was accused of misdemeanor theft. They make no further mention of what transpired after that. We would always create a timeline for every case. And in this situation, I would want to create a behavioral chronology from his adolescence to his maturity, because I want to understand who this man is, not just a minute-by-minute timeline of the actual, reported killing, episode. It all comes down to judging his character, and Frankel said, "It might also help me when I interview other people about him because I might know what the right questions are to ask going in." Bryan Kohberger, now 28 years old, was charged with 4 charges of first-degree murder and 1 act of burglary in Idaho last month. Bryan Kohberger was charged with a crime in Idaho in late May, but he chose not to submit a plea. As a result, the court entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. Authorities claim that on November 13, 2022, early in the morning, Bryan Kohberger, a Washington State University criminology PhD student, broke into a residence off campus and fatally stabbed the 4 students from the adjacent University of Idaho. Police finally identified Bryan Kohberger as a suspect after a more than 6-week search, according to police records. They did this by tracing Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra, cell phone signal data, and what they believed to be his DNA on a knife sheath that was discovered near to one of the victims' bodies. According to a recent filing by the police, the DNA evidence from the knife sheath at the crime site showed a statistical match with a cheek swab collected straight from Bryan Kohberger after his arrest. In several recent court filings, Bryan Kohberger's attorneys disputed that analysis, saying that the statistical probability is not an absolute and pointing to what they called a total lack of DNA evidence from the victims in Kohberger's home or car. They also questioned whether that DNA evidence unquestionably implicates their client. On December 30, 2022, he was detained at his family's Pennsylvania residence after traveling across the nation to celebrate the holidays in Albrightsville. The quiet but funny Bryan Kohberger they knew started to lose some of his friends in high school as his drug use grew, according to several of his boyhood pals who spoke to ABC News. Kohberger's former high school classmate Casey Arns told ABC News that he would ask her for rides, which she subsequently discovered were for the purpose of buying narcotics. "Bryan used me to, drive him around and get heroin," Arns remarked. "Many people ask why you remained friends with him after that. And I say, you've got to forgive him. You really can't blame him for falling so far down this rabbit hole." And I did, I pardoned him. That episode is Idaho college killing and highly classified secret papers. Enjoy your day, see you tomorrow.